You guys seem to like this new intro, so let's keep it going. What's going on, everyone? This is Talon Sai, and you are watching Sunday GUNDAY. I hope you're all having a great Sunday so far. Today we're taking a look at a gun that created a massive buzz when it was first introduced. I remember seeing this thing in magazines and videos, and without doing a whole lot of research on it myself, people were making it seem like this thing was going to be the future standard of rifles. It wasn't until a few years ago that I actually got my hands on one and shot it. Honestly, I was kind of underwhelmed and immediately rekindled my love for the AR-15. That being said, we are going to give this thing another shot today and dive right into the Tavor X95 by IWI. The X95 is the newest generation bullpup from IWI. It's a long stroke gas piston system, and this one happens to be chambered in 5.56, but there are 9mm and 300 blackout variants and conversions available. There are quite a few upgrades and enhancements from the original Tavor SAR that I shot, including a new fire control pack with a 5 to 6 pound trigger. The ambidextrous mag release has been moved to a more familiar AR-15 type of location, and speaking of ambi, most of the features can be swapped to the opposite side of the rifle for left-handed shooters. Surrounding the 16.5-inch chrome-lined hammer-forged barrel is a forearm very similar to the Galil that I reviewed recently, including 3 removable rail covers. There's a modular pistol grip that can be swapped out to a standard pistol grip with a more traditional trigger guard, but for now I'm going to be leaving this thing how you see it here. There are flip-up sights hidden in the top rail, which I will test out just to see how they are, but for most of today's testing I will be running this Holosun 403R Gold Dot. Now, it has been a minute since I've shot a Tavor, or even a bullpup for that matter, and it feels very unconventional for me. It just doesn't feel like a typical rifle. I'll probably need to warm up a little bit to get used to this thing, like sticking the mags in the back of the gun like this, charging handle on the side. It's just a little weird. Crank up this Gold Dot, and here we go. I went to look in the chamber to make sure it was clear, but the chamber is all the way back here. We're clear. All right, guys, back for my first mag impression of the Tavor X95. There's a lot to talk about here, and I'm kind of going to jump all over the place. I'll just start with how this thing feels when I first picked it up. The grip, like I mentioned, is something that you can change out for a more standard, like AR-15 style grip. It removes this big trigger guard and it puts a more traditional trigger guard in there for you. Like I mentioned, I'm probably going to keep this thing how it is now. It does feel pretty ergonomic, like it feels good in my hand. However, the overall style of this rifle being a bullpup, it's a little bit weird to get used to. It's a full-length rifle, but it is also very short, like AR pistol length short. This is a non-NFA gun, so it's coming with an overall length of a little over 26 inches, I believe. So this is a rifle in every sense of the word, and if you are looking for something that is very short, maybe for some CQB type of work, but you also want to have the ballistics of a 16.5-inch barrel, that way you can push out to probably past 100 yards very easily, then this would be a good package for you. So again, when I put my hands on this thing, the grip feels good in my hand. However, the rest of the gun, it feels a little weird. It's balanced very well, forward and backward. I would say the balance point of it is right about here, right behind the pistol grip, right in this section of the rifle right here, whereas a lot of the times on an AR-15, it's going to be much more forward of the grip. When I'm holding this thing out, it feels a little bit top heavy because of the big bolt and piston inside of here, but that's something that I'll be able to get used to pretty damn easily. And then another thing to mention is that you cannot actually change the length of pull with this. This is all fixed on here. There's no way to adjust this stock as it comes right now. It does have some good padding on there though, and once you get used to this thing, I think I'll be pretty comfortable with it after a couple more mags. Now while we're in the back portion of this gun here, it does obviously lock to the rear. The bolt release right here slams that thing home. The ejection port right now is on the right side of the rifle. On the reverse side, there is just a dust cover, and this is something that is swappable. So like I mentioned, if you are a left-handed shooter, you could swap that to the other side and then run the gun like this. It just makes it even more awkward when I'm not a lefty. The mag release, like I mentioned, has moved up to a more AR-15 style location. The mags fall out of there very easily, and this also shipped with a P-mag window just like this. The safety is ambidextrous, the charging handle is ambidextrous. This thing is nice and oversized. I can get a full finger on there, probably two if I wanted to. Once you get a feel for this thing and you know where everything is on here, it does become pretty familiar and easy to operate. So you can see the slot on the other side here where I can flip that charging handle if I want to. There are also QD mounts on the sides here. They do include the swivels, which is a nice touch. And then moving all the way up to the front here, we have the tri-rail, also a rail on top. And these covers are very similar to the Galil that I just covered. If you press down on this button and then push forward, you have access to a Picatinny rail. Again, QD mounts up here if you want to run this thing with a sling. And then to put this back on, simply press the button and slide it back down. Same thing on the bottom and same thing on the reverse side. And then on the top, you have a pretty generous sized Picatinny rail. One thing that I did not really realize on this gun was that they have flip-up sights built into the rail. They're pretty damn tall, but when I threw this Holosun 403R on here, I just basically co-witnessed it, put it right on the front post here, and I was on from about 45 yards there. I will turn this thing off and shoot with those things just to get a better feel for it and let you guys know what I think. And for the most part, that covers a lot of the features on here. Like I said, again, 16.5-inch barrel, so you are getting good ballistics out of this thing. Got an A2 birdcage on there. I could very easily swap that out for something else, throw a can on there if I wanted to. And I think that gives you guys a pretty good rundown of what the Tavor is offering. Before we get into shooting this a little bit more though, I do want to do a direct side-by-side comparison with an AR pistol since I keep bringing this up. So here I have my go-to home defense AR-15. I brought you guys a video on the can that I have on here as well as the entire platform itself. However, I've added a lot to it and this thing sits next to my bed every single night. I'm gonna be bringing you guys a video on this probably next week. So here's its length with an 11.5-inch barrel. The muzzle device comes right about to the scout light here. I'll actually pop this can off for a better visual. So pretty standard AR-15. If I want to shoot this thing, I'm pretty bunched up unless I move this SBA3 brace out. When it is all the way out, this is almost the perfect size and feeling gun for me, which is why I choose it. Now I will compare this in its comfortable length and configuration right next to the Tavor. If I line up the brace with the stock, you can see that the Tavor is coming in much shorter than the AR-15. Now if I slide this brace into its shortest length possible, the gun still functions like this. You can shoot it, it's just not all that comfortable. The Tavor doesn't change. This thing is pretty comfortable to shoot no matter how you have it. And again, I will line them up brace to stock and you will see that the AR-15 is still just a little bit longer. So the Tavor is shorter, possibly more maneuverable. It's going to have better ballistics than an 11.5-inch barrel. I completely understand why something like this was made and it serves a great purpose for a lot of different people out there. For me though, I still prefer something like this. This is familiar to me, this is what I train with, and I think a lot of people are in that same boat. However, we are still going to shoot the Tavor a little bit more. And I'll sort of be thinking about comparisons between these two guns as I go. And then I'll come back and I'll give you guys some more of my final thoughts. I think I'm gonna start this test with a little bit of distance because like I keep saying, this thing should be accurate with a normal length rifle barrel. I'm gonna start on my normal silhouette TA targets, which is about the size of my torso to give you guys an idea of the accuracy, and then I will move over to the 2/3 ADAP that they offer. And this thing is roughly the size of an A zone. This thing, if I had to guess, would be accurate 1 MOA at 100 yards. I'm back here at about 75 now, so let's see how it does. Let's start with the big target. Now for the 2/3. It's a little windy. I'm a little shaky standing up in the cold, but it's not too bad. While we're out here, we might as well give the iron sights a try. Let me actually turn the dot off. Not my favorite, but they work. I'm gonna give a reload a try now, which is gonna be weird coming from the back pocket to behind my grip like this. We'll see how it goes. Now I don't know if I want to hit the button like this or if I want to come up here and do that. Let's try that again. All right guys, back for some final thoughts on the X95. After a couple of those mag dumps there, this thing is smelling kind of plasticky because it is new. I put 300 rounds through it today and it was all obviously breaking in. Now a lot of this thing is that plasticky polymer material, however the fit and finish on it is still pretty great. It better be great with the price tags that these things are coming in at, because these are going to be significantly more expensive than an off-the-shelf AR-15. With that though, you're getting a lot of the great features that we already covered, and I can talk about a little bit more now. So early on with the shooting there, you will notice that I was missing quite a bit in the beginning, because when I'm pulling this thing up on target, the target acquisition is a little bit different for me. Maybe it's because of the stock or the ergos on this thing, but when I pull my sights up, I feel like I should have my red dot mounted a little bit higher. These iron sights worked pretty well, as you guys saw, and you'll notice that those are very high to begin with. The gold dot on this thing does co-witness with them, but I feel like I want it to be a little bit higher. I would pull the gun up on target, and the reticle would be sitting right towards the top of the glass in this thing. This Holosun, by the way, is great. I've been using this thing a lot, actually swapping it out on different guns that I'm reviewing, so chances are you've seen this exact red dot before. I keep saying red dot, it's actually a gold dot. The gold dot on this, as opposed to a red dot or a green dot, is supposedly better for people who are colorblind. Might be a little bit easier to pick up, and It looks pretty crisp. It is a 2 MOA dot, and these things seem pretty rugged from my testing so far. You can see it's a little banged up because I've been kind of throwing it around with this test and some other tests, just like putting guns on the ground in between mag changes and stuff like that. But yeah, it's been holding up well, and it holds zero very well also. So like I was saying, when I'm pulling this thing up on target, it's a little bit weird to get used to. I feel like I have to duck my head a little bit lower than I do with a traditional AR-15. However, once I get this thing on target and I'm in a comfortable position with that optic, I can run this thing all day long and it remains pretty damn accurate. The trigger on this thing is very much improved compared to the older version of the Tavor that I shot. I'll see if I can show you guys what this thing looks like. Now I'm saying this trigger is improved, but I'm not saying it's like the greatest trigger ever. I would probably describe it as adequate. I mean, it works. It feels a little bit lighter than the SAR version that I've shot in the past. A little springy on the take up. Find that wall there somewhere. A little bit of creep after that. I guess you could describe it as a combat effective trigger. I'll let out to the reset. There's not a whole lot of tension on the trigger when doing that, and then again, a little bit of creep through that wall to the break. So the trigger, like I said, it's adequate for me. I do wish it was a little bit better for the price tag that these things are coming with. Now, I haven't even checked to see if there are any aftermarket triggers for the Tavor out there. If I had to guess, I would say that there probably are. However, I really don't care for that. I'm not going to be modifying this thing past the red dot that you see on it here. And I would say that this thing is a good gun for a specific type of person who wants something very specific. Once you warm up to this thing, the shootability is pretty good on this thing. The recoil impulse is fairly soft. A few times there, I wasn't sure if it actually locked to the rear. It's just a really different feeling having that piston system in here moving backwards, like closer to your face, as opposed to a bolt carrier group, which would traditionally be riding a little bit more forward here, back into the buffer tube. So it's a pretty neat package. However, it's still really not for me. I'm sticking with the AR-15. I appreciate the small package and the full length rifle barrel. I'm really not a bullpup guy, but if you're out there looking for the best of both worlds when it comes to barrel length but being short, then this is definitely going to be a good option for you. Now, if you guys have any questions on the Tavor X95, let me know in the comments down below. I'll try to answer anything as best as possible. I have to give a huge thanks to everyone who supports this channel over on Patreon. If you ever want to have direct contact with me, you want to ask me questions, you want to bounce some ideas off of me, check out that page with a link in the description. You get videos a week early, so everyone on Patreon already saw this video. You get access to the exclusive Discord, and I will fill you guys in on a lot of very cool projects that I'm working on coming up here in the next couple of months. Also, if you are new to this channel, consider clicking subscribe because I make new videos every week. That's going to be all for today. So as always, thank you guys for watching, and I will talk to you in the next one.